And now for a session produced by our underwriter, Elastic. On the future of AI in government, please welcome Ashutosh Kulkarni, CEO of Elastic, with Nicholas Thompson, CEO at The Atlantic.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. It's wonderful to see this beautiful full room. Before Ash and I get going and get deep into Elastic AI and all the cool things he's working on, I do want to tell you there'll be a break where you can network, hang out, eat cookies, have coffee at 3:20. We got some crazy stuff to do there before then. All right, Ash, hello. How are you?
Good to be here.
I'm delighted you are here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting The Atlantic. Let's get going. Assume, hypothetically, that there's one person in the audience that does not know exactly what Elastic does. Explain what Elastic does as though I'm 16 years old.
There's more than one person, but let me go for it. So basically, we are a search platform. So I'll give you an example of how we get used. If you're ever taken an Uber, you've used Elastic in some way in the back end. They use Elastic to map rider to driver. If you've ever shopped at the Home Depot, they use Elastic behind the scenes. So when you're searching for something, it's Elastic behind the covers. In the government, we have all kinds of use cases. One of the most interesting ones is HSI uses Elastic to address human trafficking. They try and do investigations around human trafficking using our technology. So we just find patterns in messy, unstructured data, and that's what we're known for.
And so trafficking, Uber and human trafficking. And so you're taking all of this data, you're putting it inside a private cloud, you're making it secure, and then you're making it more searchable, right?
That's exactly right.
Okay. And so tell me some of the other uses that the federal government, since we are in Washington, has for it.
So cybersecurity is a big problem, as we all know. I don't know if that's something that we talked about today, but CISA uses Elastic to support the cybersecurity posture needs for all civilian agencies through one common dashboard. It's called their Continuous Diagnostics and Monitoring Dashboard. All of that is done using Elastic, and it's done in such a way that every agency is able to keep provenance of their own data, but CISA sees a federated, a global view across all of it, and through that, they're able to see if there is any patching or any remediation that needs to be done. That's all handled through Elastic. We have our technology that's used to protect devices that are deployed at the endpoint. Warfighters in kits deploy them on the front lines because this equipment is incredibly vulnerable to cyber attacks, and you don't want to let that happen. And unlike many other products, ours can be fully operational in an air-gapped environment.
Do you protect the data on Mike Waltz's phone?
I am pretty confident we don't work with Signal or any other technology of that sort. So, I don't know.
Well, I'm very enthusiastic about this work, in part because right now at The Atlantic, probably in the last hour, 5 people have gotten text messages from Nicholas Thompson asking them to buy gift cards. So keep this up. Let me ask you about the use case that I would most like. Like if I had one government customer that I would like you to get, and I hope somebody from the procurement office is in the room. I have filed FOIA requests from 20 years ago that have not been answered. Presumably, you could get the government data in a structured place that would make FOIA work more efficiently, no?
Well, it's very easy with our platform to basically make the data completely, not just searchable, but you could interrogate it just as you would numeric data in a database. That's really hard to do, but with AI and with vector technology, which we provide out of the box, you can search for patterns in just about anything. So our platform is being used a lot to build conversational applications. And you imagine, my pet peeve is always California DMV. I live in San Francisco. It's the most frustrating process ever if you need to renew your license or do anything. How much of that can you automate now because of what LLMs can do? So not so sure about FOIA, but I'm sure there's a way in which we can help them. So happy to.
All right. Well, so I will try to get FOIA on board, and if somebody else in here, please help Ash with the California DMV and get them onto Elastic. Do you work with our good friends at Doge? Because it seems like they'd be eager customers of yours.
Yes, so we have talked to folks from Doge, and part of it is what they're trying to do is find ways to reduce their overall software costs, their overall IT costs. So that's an area where they've been talking to us, and I think that's something that they're doing with pretty much every technology provider. So absolutely. And our product tends to be much cheaper because it was born in open source. And so when you have open source roots, like the way you try and build a business is by providing something at a very reasonable price, but go for mass appeal. And so, just in terms of the value we can provide for the money, it tends to be very advantageous to them.
Explain to the audience what you mean by our product was born in open source.
So our core technology is a product called Elasticsearch, and open source has been this amazing movement that's brought so much innovation. So Linux and so many other really cool things that we depend on today came out of open source. Elasticsearch is, I think, rated as the 6th largest open source project of all time. We've had billions of downloads of the technology. And so we have a free version of the product that's a really capable version that anybody in the community can just use for free. And then we charge for value-added features on top. So that's how we monetize our business.
All right. So now imagine I work for the Department of Homeland Security, and I want to use Elastic for human trafficking. And I ask you this question: Ash, your product seems really good, but you're telling me the code was written by a bunch of people in their basements in their pajamas and that everybody can look at it? How do I trust it?
These days on Zoom, I have no idea what somebody is wearing under. So it could be very likely people wearing pajamas. Our big belief is that as long as there's an organization, a commercial organization that has liability, that makes sure that they are not allowing anything risky to be put into the code, having your source code in the open is an amazing thing. Like, if there are any writers in the room, if you know somebody's going to read your writing, you take that much care about what you write, right? You're always like, you have a matter of pride to make sure that if anybody is actually reading it, you want it to be great. It's the same thing with developers. If they know that millions of people are going to look at their source code, they are very, very careful about how they code, the quality of it. Even issues, bugs are found much faster. So if you're a closed source company, you're depending on that company's engineers to have done all the hard work. In our case, we have the community helping us.
All right, but now imagine you're in a room, and okay, you've just convinced me, but now there's an investor, and I'm like, Ash, how do you have a company that has a moat against your competitors when your central product is freely available for anybody else to look at and download?
A version of our central product is free for everybody to download. All the value-added features are obviously, that's how we monetize. So yeah, I mean, we have the open source movement is something that investors have really gotten behind. We're not the only company that is open source based. There are many others like us. But yeah, what open source also drives is very fast innovations. Like, we get so much inspiration from our community. Like, we got into the cybersecurity business about 6 years ago. That's because we saw others building cybersecurity products on top of Elasticsearch. We saw that, we're like, wow, this is a really cool business. Maybe we should get into it. And that's how it has been progressing. We got into all the AI work that we're doing because, folks in the community said, oh, you know what? This whole GPT thing, these transformer models that are coming out, it would be really cool if we took those vectors that we create and put them in Elasticsearch. I'm like, that sounds like a great idea. So we started investing in this area about 5 years ago. And I could not have predicted that these large language models would become so capable.
Well, so this is really interesting because the world did not know 7 years ago, right, that transformers and putting information into vector space would actually be the wave of the future. Everybody thought that what you would do is you would take a whole bunch of data and you would label it, and then you would take a search engine and you would analyze all the labels.
Yep.
They didn't know that if you basically poured all the data in the world into a big pile, turned it into vectors, a whole stream of numbers, and then had something look at it, you would create magic, right? And that's kind of amazing. And you guys were ahead of that, which I assume is a reason why your company is still successful, even though you're in a hyper-competitive space. So how did you recognize that transformers and vector space were going to be key?
So the first thing is always, we pay attention to what our community is doing and what they're telling us. We learn a lot by just having these meetups all over the place where developers come, talk to us about what they're building on our platform, how they want to use us. We learn a lot that way. we also keep track of, what's going on in the, in the outside world. Like I said, transformer model space was growing really nicely, and we could see the potential, collaboration there. The third thing is, because of our ethos, we run a ton of experiments within the company. This was an idea that might have worked, or it might have completely fizzled out, and that's okay. At any given point in time, we're running dozens of these experiments, and then we see what really sticks, what pays off. But it all comes down to that ethos of open source, which I think is such a powerful thing for us.
All right. We're almost exactly out of time, so a yes or no question on open source to test your commitment. I think the Atlantic's lawyer is in the other room and not here. Should the Atlantic go completely to open source, where we put all of our interview transcripts and source material online with every story? That would be true open source. Should we do that, yes or no?
Your confidential informants as well?
Well, sounds like a no. All right. Thank you so much, Ash. Thank you so much, Elastic, for helping to support this.
There it goes.